Good evening. Welcome to my midweek recap here for Apple. Plan ahead for Thursday and Friday. Earnings is next week, but for now, we'll see if I can make a couple more trades here and lock in some more profits in Apple before that does come up. Now, first of all, I want to go to the trades I have taken so far. Took a couple of breakdown trades here. Some worked, some did not. First of all, on Monday here, got on 165 puts here at 227, and half of them did take off here on this initial drop down below here. Not a huge gainer, about 10% is nothing really to write home about. Trailed me out the rest at 223 on that, a little bit of a spike up. So I was a little bit just barely outside of the money. Volatility just got sucked out of it, even though price action did break down. As you can see, it would have been a lot more profitable had I held longer. But per my rules, I went ahead and got out once it looked like there was a huge bidder here at about, I think it was 164.60. Showed up on the tape, so at that point I was very cautious and didn't want to risk having that go completely against me. Throughout the rest of that day, I did absolutely nothing with Apple. On Tuesday, price action gapped up. This purple line right here represents the 200 SMA on the daily time frame over here. As price action gapped up, failed to hold above it and sold off with a good deal of strength right here. You can see volume is at least somewhat confirming participation in the sell-off. Price action did break down and came down. I was not available to trade the early morning on Apple here, so I waited for a breakdown below Monday's low, got in some 165 puts here at 240, and those actually trailed me out. My stop was a little bit too tight. I should have been a little bit more patient on that, waited to see if it was going to test the VWAP or at least put my stop way up here above VWAP, but that's just something for another lesson for me to keep in mind. Later on in the day, you can see this huge long wick right here. As price action did reject off VWAP, I was looking for another breakdown play, especially once this green hammer candle showed up. I didn't want to try and trade anything above it because that is usually pretty bullish, even though volume was not there. So I was patient, waited for another breakdown play, got on some 162.5 puts here at 159. The initial little bit of a drop here, wasn't really sure it was going to break this low, so I just closed out some of it just to limit my risk in case it did go against me. Got half off at 167, half of the remainder here at 178, and the rest of it as volume started to pick up and looked like there was a buyer on the tape again. I got out at 183, so I did leave quite a bit on the table here as it did drop all the way down here to 160, 120. This area coincides on the daily time frame with what could potentially be what looks like the previous buy signal or technical buy signal. Last time price action reclaimed the 200 SMA over here, so maybe just retesting that level to see what happens. Now on the daily time frame, we also have an inside day here, which just means today's price action is completely inside of yesterday's price action. So it's a sign of indecision, and it looks like there's a battle going on. So I'm gonna go here to the trade plan that I am looking for tomorrow on Thursday. All I have is one trend line here. If price action holds above here, I will consider taking calls. But since price action is well below every one of my significant moving averages here, the red is the 50 SMA, yellow is the 21 EMA, and blue is the 8 EMA. As I said, purple is the 200 SMA on the daily time frame. Those are a lot of levels, a lot of significant levels that are probably going to have sellers sitting and waiting for trades to go short. Price action has broken through the 200 SMA, obviously, closed below it, and today was simply a retest and what looks like a rejection. So as long as it's below there, I am actually going to be looking for puts. So I'm going to be looking at 165 puts here with a stop loss just above. Now these may not actually materialize into a trade. This is just what I'm looking at tentatively for what the price action is on the tape or on the screen right now. If it breaks down below 163, I will also be looking for 165 puts for a breakdown to hold below where the VWAP is currently. So that's going to be about 50 cents of risk, one half the delta of those trades. They will be weekly puts. I will not hold those overnight because earnings is next week. I'm just going to do this for a trade, get in, get out, and see what happens. Initial target will be right here, 161.25. Target 1. And if it really starts to get some strength, I still think it could potentially come all the way back down here to 156.5 just to fill this gap, because gaps do like to be filled. So show how far down here that is. Still have my note here from the other day. It's not impossible. It may not be very likely to get down that far, but it's not impossible. So anyways, those are my trades and my plan for Thursday. Have a good evening and good luck.